Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ika. Thank you so much. Claire and I are actually coming to you from backstage at CMX Summit in Redwood City, everyone. So that's why we've got such beautiful decor behind us, the dressing rooms of, of where various speakers and actors have got dressed over the years. We're here to talk about Lenovo and Legion and this fantastic community program that stretches across the world. I'm just going to read you some stats from this community, just a couple of them. 117,000 members in the first 18 months, 21 million post views, which I'm told is 7 times the audience of the biggest Twitch stream ever. And my personal favorite, members have spent over 80 million minutes in the Legion community EMEA, which is 152 years or 2.6 million games of League of Legends. So this fantastic community, we were incredibly privileged to win the award earlier in the year. Let's take a step back. Jessica, you head up communities across Lenovo, across the world. Tell us about the approach to community at Lenovo.
Thanks, Rob, and it's great to be here with both you and Claire. I'm actually not with you in California, although I wish I was. Joining you from my home in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is just about 20 minutes from our one of our heads of our Lenovo headquarters. So it's like our second headquarters here in Morrisville. So for us, community, and we're really, really thrilled that the EMEA community won Community of the Year through CMX for the Legion Gaming community. It's quite an honor when Lenovo communities win any kind of awards. And this was a big one. So we're really honored and really great to have some time with you today to kind of talk a little bit about our communities and why. So to Rob's question, we look at communities as a way to really engage with our customers beyond just you need a laptop or you need a service from us here at Lenovo. And so in a non-transactional way, in areas that are of interest, that are not just, they might be personal or they might be professional. And we do that through our communities overall. We do have communities globally, as Rob mentioned. So we have communities in EMEA and really have taken over EMEA in such a wonderful and expansive way, including the UK. And 14 or 15 other countries. I always get a little bit off because I know they keep growing. And then we also have a Legion Gaming community in the United States. In Australia, we have another gaming community, and then also across the globe. So we're really excited about our communities overall. We're continuing to expand all the time. We do look at, we've got 3 different segments that we're really hone in on with our communities. One of them is gaming. And so we're going to talk a lot about that today, but off of community, we also have our small and medium business community, which is really focused on IT professionals, new and developing businesses and what matters to them as they face challenges or really look for opportunities of growth. How do they connect with one another? And then also, how do we help them? What kind of support can we give them overall on hot topics to really help them reach their greatness overall as a business? In EDU, our audience is students, parents, and educators. And so there are a lot of educator communities that are out there and they exist and they're fantastic. And a lot of them focus on professional development. Ours is a little bit different. It's more toward a parent. What's something that you need in order, what's a buying guide you might need to buy your student their first laptop ever, or you need to upgrade because their homework demands are increasing, or the student themselves is purchasing because they're in college and they just don't know really what to get based on what they're studying. And then also, for students, what's of interest to them or what can their parents bring back to them? All kinds of, we have a relationship with National Geographic Explorers to really dive into some animals and what that does. So community for us is ways to connect in all kinds of ways that matter, personal and professional, and done really by segment. We have a team that is global and they sit within countries. So they're in Japan and Germany and Australia, all over the UK, and also in EMEA, as well as in the US, across those 3 different segments.
Thank you very much, Jessica, for that fantastic overview. And it is truly a global community. We've I know that we've seen 186 countries represented in the Legion community alone. Let's dig into the Legion segment and the gaming segment. What are your goals there, and what does success look like? And then maybe Jessica, if you could go first and tell us at a global level what that looks like, and then hand over to Claire and tell us about those EMEA goals and successes. That'd be fantastic.
Sure. So when we launched Communities in 2020, so just about 2 years ago, we took a look at, what are the 3 key pillars that we want to focus on? Obviously at the beginning, you can't have engagement unless you have people there to engage. So acquisition was a big one for us. How do we bring people in? And then secondly, at that point was engagement. How do we keep them there? How do we create something that's habitual that they would want to come back to because it's exciting, it's fun, and it brings value to their world? And then also, how do we retain our members? So once you've joined us and you've enjoyed a live stream or you've entered a contest to win a laptop, how do we keep you coming back? I think as we've shifted and we've grown, Rob was giving you some of the EMEA stats on the extreme growth that they've had in EMEA. From a global community perspective, in gaming specifically, outside of EMEA, we've got about 120,000 community members in 3 different countries. And we do pull in people from other countries overall, but that's not our biggest focus right now. Our biggest focus is really the engagement. What matters in those conversations, what matters to keep someone, really to have this be a bright spot in their day. There's a lot of demands, there's a lot of different opportunities for you to go and game or be in other gaming communities. And so for us, it matters to really keep our gamers engaged and keep them happy, and really keep what we're showing, whether it's content or it's a live stream or it's some product advice or it's just connecting with one another, really hot and interesting so that they come back.
Yeah, and I think from my perspective is completely the same. Obviously, we both work for Lenovo, and we're kind of just trying to accomplish the same thing. And just building on Jessica's point on engagement, I think at the end of the day, that is definitely the metric that is most important to us. But I think taking a step back, I think also just focusing on the metrics is, when you're looking for a husband or you're looking for a boyfriend and you go out and you look for them and you never meet anybody, it's kind of a similar thing. So I think what we really, really try very hard to accomplish, and I think we've been fairly successful, is just to remember why we're there. And what is the purpose of the community in the first place? And just like a little bit of a backstory, we've been talking about EMEA. So for those of you who may not know, it's Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So that's the part of the world that I'm kind of supporting from a community perspective and marketing. And the reason why the whole community exists for Legion, which is our gaming brand, is because we were just hearing from people that there's online quite a lot of drama sometimes that was going into gaming communities, especially from like a gender perspective. We had women reaching out to us in the Middle East who had to log on under a male username so that they weren't hit on online. And also just like gaming shamed in a way, because they were like, oh, girls aren't as good as guys. Like, what are you doing in a gaming forum? What do you know? Kind of an attitude. And we just kind of took a step back, and that really formed the purpose of what we were trying to do and why we started in the first place, which was giving people a space to game, no matter what gender you are, no matter where you are from, and no matter your competency level, because gaming, you can go from really pro gamers to gamers who really just do it casually and for fun. And a lot of the forums that exist are quite competitive. And so we just wanted to give people that safe space. And so whilst engagement is absolutely our key metric, I think the purpose for us being there, we really try and never lose sight of, because if we focus on that and we focus on why we're there, we believe that all of the KPIs will be met. So that's really our approach.
It's a great way of phrasing it, Claire. I'm so glad you brought up DE&I and how the company really leans into diversity, equity, and inclusion in our gaming space. And so definitely gender equality is incredibly important to us, and safe space for our community and our gamers and all of our communities across the board in all of the segments. but also looking at age, right? So we ran a Get Got by a Grand, which won an award, which was really to bring in the elderly into the gaming space and have them work with some of their younger, either family members or just peers or mentors in gaming to bring them into it all the way around. And we also welcome our LGBTQ population into our space as well. It is really holistically baked into who we are at Lenovo, and it's also baked in then into our communities in the way in which we engage with either present or future customers.
Actually, the point on age is really important too. We've equally had another sort of spin on that in the Nordics, which is a really big gaming market for us around the world, where we've got the Silver Snipers, who are literally a team of silver-haired. I don't want to use the wrong terminology here, but let's say just in life a little bit more mature. And they are literally a team of gamers in their 60s and 70s who go to gaming competitions on behalf of our brand Legion. And so, yeah, I think the age thing is actually super important, and it's amazing to see these people like flourish in a gaming space, you know. So yeah, that's a very good point.
Absolutely. I love that. And I think there's a huge message there about not just listening to the noise, not just listening to the dominant discourse in a particular space, because in gaming, what a great example. Everyone is a gamer. You know, my parents sit there watching TV at night, playing solitaire, you know, on their iPads, you know, and these are people in their 60s, you know, so that insight, that gaming wasn't a niche anymore, but It was for everyone, has been really exciting here. Fantastic. Thank you both for your answers. Going back to engagements then, we've got these fantastic people from diverse backgrounds joining this community of gamers. And what does engagement look like? What kind of strategies and tactics have you employed? And what's worked? What hasn't? Again, Jessica, if we could start with you, and then Claire, tell us about what you've been trying in EMEA as well.
Yeah, so I will say this, you know, over the course of the past 2 years, we've, in about a year and a half since we've launched fully, we really have run about 500 plus events and activities within our communities overall. So there are so many examples I can pull from. But I think, you know, the one that I find most critical is, you know, if you look at communities overall, and we all know these stats because we're in communities. So there's that 99-1 rule where 90% of the people will come in, they'll lurk around, 9% will actually join and participate in or be in your community, and 1% will actually contribute. And so I like to focus on that 1%. If you've taken the time to actually be in the community, you've either uploaded a video, or you've contributed to a conversation, or you've watched a live stream and you've given it a thumbs up, you know, we really want to make sure that you feel a part of this community. And so moderation is extremely important to us. User-generated content is important to us when we talk about engagement. And then again, you know, it's making sure that our content is not flat and that our experiences are not flat. And this can be either where we're thinking digitally and we're acting personally. So some of this ties into, you know, obviously these are online communities. But there is an opportunity for us to run events. Claire can talk a little bit about some of the events that have been run in person in EMEA, which are fantastic, that our team has gotten to be a part of and that we've been really thrilled about. And so Claire, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about that too. It really dives into that thinking digitally, but acting personally.
Yeah, thanks, Jessica. I think we've really tried to seamlessly as possible try and get that transition between online and offline, even though it is a virtual community, as Jess said. I think some of the things that have really worked for us first is just having that community first mindset. And it's not easy. It's an easy thing to say, but when you're on a day-to-day basis, you know, you've got 100 other priorities. Sometimes it does kind of, you know, comes down the list a little bit, but I think we've really tried to maintain that community first mindset. And so, for example, we've recently had a product launch of our new line of gaming laptops, which is a big deal, you know. And so we always have a press event where we invite some key media to come and look at the lineup before it actually hits the shelves, you know, in retailers. And we invited this event to place in Italy as an example in our Spazio Lenovo store. And we invited some of our most engaged community members to come to that event. And they honestly felt so privileged. And it's a small thing for us, honestly. It doesn't cost us any money having an extra 4 or 5 people at an event. So there's really no monetary sort of investment at all from our side. But just having that mindset of remembering to include the community in an event like that, you know, first of all, just the feel-good factor that it had on our members is immeasurable, and I think invaluable. But also, you know, like the word of mouth that then obviously, you know, has for us, and the spillover effect is huge. So we've tried to do a few things like that. We've also had, and I think, you know, it's a really cool point that Jessica brings up between the whole online and offline world, and how it's kind of all a little bit of a blur these days, and merge into one. But we also have had like a metaverse event where we, our PR team in Spain, actually through the community did something in the metaverse. And again, like just trying to create sort of those parallel worlds and where they kind of meet in the middle. So I think having our community members and rewarding, as Jessica said, maybe it's that 1% that are really invested, but trying to reward them, and not monetarily really, just in things that matter. And, you know, getting to see a line of laptops before they hit the shelves is actually a pretty big deal. And just small things like that where they feel valued, they feel special, and we kind of label it under the surprise and delight sort of little pillar that we're trying to build, I think is really important to us.
If we take a step, and Claire, those are fantastic. And if we take a step out of gaming for a second, we look at our SMB and our small and medium business. I'll give an example too in Japan. So we were running in the US, you know, we talk about, these are successes, right? With engagement, I'll talk a little bit about some of those that were like, okay, is this worth repeating? We've run some of these WebEx or webinars, right? Which I personally feel are very dated. And we've run them in the US, and we've gotten like, you know, 100 people respond that they're going to show up. And then in all reality, we're looking at like 3 people that are there. And so we really have had to take a step back and say, we're going to double down on what's working and we're going to pull back from what's not. But interestingly, around the globe, that's not necessarily the same case. So when we run a webinar or a lunch and learn kind of deal in Japan for our small and medium businesses, we tend to get really big players that come in and spend time in the space with our community managers. We've had a lot of success with that in that particular vertical and with those particular in that country. And so it's led us then to be able to be a part of their in-person events, to really support them and go to those events. So our community manager in Japan actually goes to the events and is a part of that, and has shown that she has then impacted the way in which that business is looking at how they can grow with us, and has purchased more because of it. So if you are in a community where you know, you're running a for-profit business, or you're part of a for-profit business, community is not selling is not the first tool. We have plenty of vehicles to sell, both through e-com and through retail, and through channel sell. We have plenty of vehicles to sell. But this is it is something we still need to be aware of, you know, how is what we're doing affecting the bottom line? And this is one of those examples where we've taken the engagement offline, started online, and then it did impact the way in which the sales were being produced. So it's important for us to note that as well.
I actually think you bring up a really cool point too on the community manager, because at the end of the day, they're also online and investing like a lot of time and energy into building these relationships with other people online. But for example, the Italy event that I mentioned, it was such a cool moment for the Italian community manager to also meet the people that they're interacting with day to day, but that haven't had a chance to sort of meet in person. So yeah, I think that physical meeting is also like, you know, a really big deal for the community manager.
Fantastic, and I love the way that you're both integrating the offline and the online in it just feels like quite a neat and elegant way. You know, I love the idea of journalists having to create a Minecraft avatar and attend a PR event in the metaverse, and I love the idea of someone that you've only met online suddenly meeting them at a product launch. You know, that's fantastic. That's what the kind of relationships that we want to see. Looking to the future now, what do you think the future looks like for community app Lenovo? You know, how big are your ambitions? Where can this thing go? Where can you get to? Shall we start with Claire on this one?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about gaming because that's really what I'm focusing on, and then I'll hand over to Jessica to kind of give us the bigger picture. I think at the end of the day, I know in a couple of chats that we've attended this morning have really talked about scalability and scale. And whilst that's not the single biggest priority, it is a priority, because when we're having a discussion with senior execs, saying that we have 5,000 versus 5 million people, that changes the conversation, it changes the investment levels, it changes a lot of things. So whilst that's not our primary goal, for sure, scaling it up to a point that still allows us to keep our engagement high is absolutely our focus. So I think that's number one. I think number two is making sure that we still have that one-to-one personable relationship with our members, and that we never forget why we are there in the first place and never lose sight of the purpose that we have for them, because I think that is absolutely the number one thing. And then I think number three is just the topic that we've just discussed. I think and we don't really want to talk a lot about COVID, but it's kind of, we have to slide it into this topic, is if it's taught us anything, is that the world that we live in today is not the same as it was 2 years ago. There is this blurring of online, offline, hybrid, all of the above. And I think with communities, it applies to that too. So how do we make sure that community is at the heart of everything that we do, but at the same time, community can't be on its own island. It has to be integrated with product. It has to be integrated with normal day-to-day marketing. It has to be integrated with social media. And how do we bring that all together so that we don't lose sight of who we are and why we're there, but at the end of the day, we are taking the broader business metrics into account. Jess, I don't know if you want to add to that.
Yeah, I think you very well said, Claire. I think you've covered a lot of the points that I would definitely drill into. From a strategic growth perspective here at Lenovo for community, without kind of showing you too much behind the curtain and getting in trouble here, I can say this, that we're not going to stop expanding. We originally launched looking at where are our top countries for us in terms of sales, and I think that was a great way to start. Now we're taking a look at not only that, but also what is going on around the globe in certain segments where we know we can expand with success, because it will really solve a pain point, have a community, have a space, and tie Lenovo to that in those countries. And so lots of growth going on overall here at Lenovo when it comes to community in all three segments. I think the other thing, for us with community, and Claire really nailed into it, is every single person, and we've kind of said this a few different ways in this particular conversation today, every single person who's in the community is important to us. And so we have to make sure as we scale that we have enough moderators, we have enough people who are really paying attention to not only that 1%, but that 9% that actually joined the community, and that 90% that came in and lurked around. Like, how do we get them in there? So how do we make sure that this is also important to them, that they want to come back? I don't really love the 99-1 rule. I think it's a great way of looking at things, especially when you're starting, but I think that there's this trajectory that you should be on once you get past that. But again, really valuing everyone who's there and making sure that the integrity in which the community was designed, that the governance that has been set up is maintained, regardless of how big or how many countries or how many people. So that if you had 10 people, they're just as engaged as if you had 500,000 or 5 million. And so those things I think are really, really critical as we look at community growth here at Lenovo. And also, to Claire's point, making sure that community is integrated and top of mind for all of our internal folks too. And so there is a lot of internal selling that goes on in community. And I'm sure if you're watching this, I am preaching to the choir, because I'm sure you have dealt with this as well in one capacity or another. But I think that that's really important. Even our marketing teams, having them remember, this is a tool. This is a great tool for you. How can we help you? How can we help you reach your goals so that we reach more people and that we really add value to our customers, our community members, and obviously to our company. So.
great stuff. I think great final point there, Jessica, about we often talk about when you're trying to get buy-in, we talk about stakeholder buy-in a lot in the community industry. And I just always say, well, it's their KPIs, not yours, right? It's your stakeholders' KPIs, not yours, that you need to be focused on there. So I really like that point. This is going to be my last question to you both, but we would love to hear any questions from the audience out there. So get writing in the chat if you would like to ask a question. I'd like to ask you both a bit off topic now. What's a community that you're a part of that you really love, and why? Who would like to go first?
I'll jump in. Mine's super boring, but honestly, like all communities should be, like really helpful to me as a human being. So I live in Dubai, and Dubai is a very expat country, and most people that live there are away from their countries. So my community is called British Mums Dubai, and it is not the most luxurious or like absolutely, engaging topic, but honestly, for a mom that's away from a support system of your extended family, and just small things like, for example, in England, like Calpol is the medicine that you give your kid if they have a fever, but it doesn't exist in Dubai. And it's like you just jump onto British Mums Dubai and go like, what's the Dubai version of Calpol, and where do I find it, and how do I get it? And just it's like I said, very non-glamorous, but just having that support system really of people that are in the same situation, and can really help you with very boring questions, but that are super important. And I think as any community, right, it's about people who have a like-minded focus, and just you're all mums on there trying to muddle your way through everything. So that's my boring answer, but super useful.
That's a great one. I love that, Claire, and I'm glad that it's a value to you, right? Like a community has to be a value. So for me, I have a lot of demands in my life, in my world. And so the community that I like the most is something that's actually very whimsical. And I would say that the way in which people devour gaming communities, I devour this community, and it is fashion-based, so it's Net-a-Porter. And I absolutely love seeing, I think they run an absolutely phenomenal. So if there's anyone here from Net-a-Porter, I will tell you kudos, because you're running a really great content story, and it's keeping me very engaged. I am recovering from a pretty major surgery, and so it's been really fabulous to just look at shoes and purses, and I've been very much enjoying that, as vapid as it is. It's been phenomenal over the course, and you know what? It's made me happy, and so isn't that the purpose of communities overall? To add value and to really get, like as I said before, give you some sparkle in your day. So that is, that's mine right now.
I'm gonna jump on that.
Fantastic. It sounds like there's the makings of a Lenovo internal community around this topic, I think.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you both so much for those answers, and for all your excellent answers to the questions. I'm going to call on Ika to rejoin us, if that's okay. You can come and jump in and take control again. But yeah, I've really enjoyed this discussion. Thank you, Jessica and Claire. Thank you to all of you out there for joining. If we have any questions from the audience, Ika, let's hear them, I think.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I second everything that you say. It was a wonderful conversation. So it really is great to feel the importance that Lenovo is giving to the community and its members. That really comes through. And of course, it was wonderful to end it with your personal experiences. Jessica, get well soon. And of course, Claire, expat communities are the thing. They were and they will be, it looks like. So we have a couple of questions. Let's see if we can squeeze them in before we end. So Angela asked, how is disability inclusion included in DE&I?
Yeah, so Claire, do you want to take this one, or you want me to?
Shoot.
So I will say this to you. We have a very expansive disability product line, and we're really, as we create and design and imagine all of our new products, all of our products that are there, we really look at all of the different ways in which we can be compliant, not only compliant, but useful, helpful. And so we extend that into our communities too. So everything that we have is absolutely accessible online. There should be nothing that is not able to be captioned or to have different levels of visibility for anyone who has sight impairment or and so there are ways in which we're looking at how we increase that. And actually, ironically, 2 hours ago, I was just looking at our new disability product portfolio and wondering how we could do more in our community. So I think there's always an opportunity to do more, but it is a company focus, and it's also something that we have very much top of mind.
Cool, fantastic. So just maybe we can squeeze just one more question. So Arlen actually asked during the conversation, what if the product that was mentioned has no physical location? So how would you approach that?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I get the question, like has no physical location, as if like maybe a service that isn't a physical product? Is that the question?
I believe that is the case. We can ask Arlen for for clarification, perhaps while you're answering, if there's anything that we can add.
Yeah, and I think, look, in our case, obviously, we are the biggest PC company in the world, and we sell laptops and a whole bunch of other things, including services, by the way, which are not a physical product per se. Look, in the community, we don't really try and push our products to, that's not our number one reason for being. So whilst it may be subtly included, it's definitely not like the overt number one goal that we have. But like, if you just take my example of my community, which is an expat community of British moms, it's not a product. It's not a physical thing that you can see or feel or touch. So I feel like communities can play a huge role, regardless of whether it's the topic is actually, something that's very tangible or something that's completely not tangible at all. I really personally don't think it makes a difference one way or the other. Jess, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
No, I think you're right about that, Claire. I will say that in our education community, for example, we do have a tech product buying guide for parents or for students, and it's broken down and it has links then to .com so that you can go and purchase a physical product. If that's the direction the question was kind of gone in. But really, we're not selling the product on the community itself. We're not replicating .com or retail. But there is how do you do it what's a save or splurge? What's your, these are the tech products specifications you want overall, or what age is your student, or what age are you as a student that you want to purchase. So we do have that availability within the community, and we think of that, our Lenovo EDU community, as a resource also for parents and students.
Fantastic. Thank you for answering these questions. There are a few follow-ups and a few other questions, but unfortunately, we're at time. We would have loved to, have an extension of this conversation, but unfortunately, we just have to stop here. Claire and Jessica, so cool to have shared the story of the new community of the year, that is Lenovo's community, as awarded by CMX. And Rob, as always, it's so wonderful to have you, and of course, for you to direct the questions and of course all the contributions. It has been a wonderful session.